safely come up off the blocks. Use your arms into the ground to help start to lift you up, tucking chin into your chest. As you carefully sit up, start to slide the blocks out from underneath you. And just set them to the side for now. As you sit up, just bring your feet out in front of you with your knees to the sky. Bring your hands behind you, turn the fingers to face forward. And then just planting your heels firmly into the ground, lift the hips up into reverse tabletop. Just opening the upper chest, pushing down into the inner arms, so that web between thumb and forefinger pressing down. You can go ahead, let the hips come down almost to the floor. And then again, pull back through the heels, lift the hips up, open the chest. And again, lower the hips. Draw yourself forward and up. And lower it down. One more time, just lift the hips up, open up. Hold for a moment. And then carefully set the hips all the way down. Turn your fingers to face backwards. You can even bring the hands a little closer together. Make sure your fingers are spread nice and wide. Then open the chest, bend your elbows a little bit. Walk your feet forward, and then scoot the hips forward. Try to bend your elbows, lift the chest. If you have more to go, walk your feet even further forward. Scoot the hips even further forward. Again, it's hard here, but try your best. Lift the chest up. At least not locking the elbows even if you can't quite bend them. And then dip your knees to the left and look gently to your right. Try to keep both palms flat on the ground. The top of your inhale can really help you and open up the chest a little more, so keep the breath deep. And just switch sides, knees over to the right, look to the left. And then knees to the middle, walk your feet in, walk your hips back in, release your arms, shake it out. If you feel tingling, that's okay. And then just shift over onto your hands and knees facing the ground. And we'll start with a shoulder twist here. So reach your right arm up into the air, take a deep breath. And as you exhale, thread it underneath you to the left. Let that right shoulder come to the floor, maybe even scoot it further across. Planting your left hand out in front of your face. Work the hand down into the ground to twist the chest open to the side. Now if you feel you're falling backwards, just widen your knees so you can get a deeper twist. Breathe really deeply up and down the back. Feel like the reach of your right arm is starting in your middle back, involving that right shoulder blade. So you're not drawing the shoulder blades back together, you're trying to protract them and get them away from each other. Broaden upper back. One more really deep breath in and out. Wait for the exhale. And then gently release to center. Give yourself a few gentle cat-cows in the middle before the other side. Just arch and flex a few times. And then the other side. Coming back to neutral spine, thread your left arm underneath you to the right. Again, maybe walk your left shoulder a little further across. Not so much that you get fully rounded, but just a little more opening. And then really twist open without sacrificing the space in your upper back. Deep breath. Take one more breath in and out. carefully unwind to center. Again, give yourself a couple cat-cows. Just arch and flex. Setting up for downward dog, spread your hands a little wider in front of you, tuck your toes, and press back. Give yourself a few breaths to wake up the back of the legs. You can pedal it out. I actually like to bring myself onto just one foot, pressing back into that one heel, get a little extra stretch in that calf, and then switch to the other side. Whatever helps you kind of warm up. Just give yourself a couple breaths in your stillness in downward facing dog. Lengthen the waist, draw some weight back away from your shoulders. And then slowly walk forward until you come to your forward fold at the front of your mat. Again, a couple breaths down here. You can grab the big toes, you can grab opposite elbows, make it as soft as you'd like. Relax the back of your neck though. You can play a little bit of shifting your center of gravity around. Sway forward and backward, side to side. Release your arms if you have the elbows. Start to round your way up to standing. Reaching the arms up overhead. Lengthen out. And hands to hearts. I'm going to start with a little bit of balancing. So find a steady place to stand. Fix your gaze at something unmoving. We'll just start in tree. So standing on your right leg, draw your left foot up to the inner thigh. Just catch your balance. You're free to keep your hands in center. Otherwise, extend the arms open, maybe turn the palms up, maybe turn the palms slightly back, starting to work the rotation of the arms and shoulders to help you open the chest. But still keeping a little bit neutral in your lower back. Maybe start to float that left hand down to the knee, right arm coming up a little higher, slight side bend in your tree. To draw back to center, stay balanced, cross the ankle to the front of the thigh in a figure four, and then start to sit back into your legs and hips. Hands or elbows come to the shin. Not going too low because we're going to take a slight variation in this pose. We're not working to the balance. Heart extends, hips slide back a little bit. Absolutely feel free to stay in center. Otherwise, we're going to start to twist to the right. So you can bring your left hand to the sole of that foot, maybe the forearm, maybe the elbow. Other arm can start to lift towards the sky, left hand down towards the ground. Gently work the arm and that foot into each other. Stay bent to the standing leg. And back to center. Set the foot down, shake it out. Good job. When standing on your left leg, just tree on the second side. Bring your right foot up. Find your midline, so zip up through center, engage your core. Try not to just sag over to the side through the hips. If you're tighter in the hips, it can be easy to just kind of hang there, but press the thigh into the foot. Maybe spread the arms. Maybe twist the hands, palms slightly back to help you get that rotation into the arms, into the chest. feel a little engagement down into the back a little, into the lats and serratus. And then maybe start to float that right arm down, left arm comes up. As you come to center, cross the ankle to the front of the thigh, figure four, and start to sit back into that leg. Again, hands or elbows come to the shin, and just lengthen out along the spine first. Work back into that right hip a little. Again, either staying in center, especially if you've got some SI joint issues going on, otherwise starting to twist left. Again, it can be just the back of the hand, other hand to your low back. Maybe slide the arm further down the sole of the foot, and maybe that left arm reaches up towards the sky. And then back to center, stand up, set the foot down, shake it out. And then widen your feet, turn the toes out, heels in. Come down either into a crouch, shift your hips back, traction the thighs with the elbows and heart forward. Or if it works for you to come into a wide squat, sitting all the way down. We'll start with a rounded spine, so drop chin to chest, crawl your fingertips forward, but keep your hips heavy. You're tucking your tailbone and trying to get the head to the ground at the same time. Obviously that's not going to happen. Just really round it in your back. A little traction and reach through the arms. And stay in your squat, start to walk your hands back in. Hands together, elbows to the front of the shins, use the arms to pull the chest forward and up a little bit. Gently pressing into your heels, slowly stand all the way up. Reach the arms into the air, feet together, deep breath in. And hands to heart, stepping to the front of your mat. Surya Namaskar. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Lengthen to your flat back, and step or lightly hop back through Chaturanga. From there to upward dog. And back to downward facing dog. Just a couple breaths in downward dog. Simple sun A to start the movement. Lengthen out. Chest and upper back feeling open but neutral. Next breath, soften the knees and hopper step forward. Lengthen out and fold down. Inhale all the way up. And hands to hearts. Again, inhale, reach up. Exhale, dive down. Lengthen. And take your vinyasa to downward dog. From this downward facing dog, come forward to your high plank, shoulders over your wrists. At any point, feel free to bring the knees straight down to the floor. Take a modified plank, not tabletop, modified plank. We're going to do a little scapula push-up here, and sometimes that's a lot for the arms, so you can bring your knees down. But without bending your arms, dip the chest towards the floor, maybe just an inch or two, and then push the ground away, spread the upper back, lift the chest. Again, dip down a little, shoulder blades squeeze back, and then lift up. A couple more times, dip down, lift up, and dip down, lift up. Find center, so fairly neutral across the back, and hold that as you press back to downward facing dog. So as you go to downward dog, your shoulder blades are in a nice neutral position. They're not retracted together, they're not spread too far apart. Nice and even across the shoulder girdle. more breath there. And then lightly hopper step to the front. Lengthen out and fold down. Inhale all the way up. And hands to heart. And once more through, reach up and dive down. Lengthen and step or float your way back. Moving through vinyasa all the way to downward dog. From this downward dog, of course, turbo dog, so bend your elbows halfway to the mat. Hover the elbows there, squeeze them in towards each other like you're going to hold something between your forearms. And then re-straighten the arms. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, dip just the elbows down. Hips stay back. It's not plank. You're staying backwards. Squeeze in. And then re-straighten the arms. One more time. Dip the elbows down. Maybe hover your elbows an inch or two above the mat. Squeeze them in as narrow as the wrist. And hold for 8, 7. Squeeze in. 6, 5. Relax the neck. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Re-straighten the arms. Take a deep breath in and out. And then soften the knees and hopper step forward. Lengthen out and fold down. Inhale to stand. And hands to heart. Now sitting back into your chair pose. Reach your arms up. Pause for a moment. Really sit your weight back. Spread your toes. And spread the thumbs a little bit further apart, turning the palms slightly back through center, and getting a little rotation through the arms. Now maybe opening the back a bit more, but still draw the shoulders back slightly. Open the chest too. Sit down a little deeper into your chair. If it's too much back bend, tuck your tailbone. Deep inhale. Exhale, dive it down. Lengthen out. And your vinyasa to downward dog. Hopper step back. From this downward dog, lift your right leg and step forward into a warrior one. Just take a moment to face forward. Settle down strongly into your legs. Then interlace your hands behind your low back, roll your chest open, and bow forward for humble warrior. Now, since we're really focused on shoulder girdle and upper chest, don't let the hands come so high that your shoulders round forward. Keep the chest opening. Maybe the hands don't lift so high, but instead of lifting up, reach the knuckles back. Drop the head a little bit. Soften into that front leg. Try your best to breathe into that space between the arms and your upper back. Then inhale up, keep the bind. Just soften the elbows a little bit. Now we're coming up into warrior three. If you can keep the bind in warrior three, keep the hands like this. Otherwise, release your hands to the heart. Look forward for a balance point. And then slowly float up onto that right leg. Try to keep the chest rolling open like we just did. Spiral that lifted leg towards the wall behind you. You can bend the standing knee if you need to. Lightly, gently land the foot down. Warrior one, release the arms up. And then vinyasa. Hands down, step back. And either flow through the postures or just step to downward dog. And then second side, lift the left leg. And step forward into your warrior one. And take a breath to land in your warrior. Stay connected to that back leg. Interlace your hands behind you. Maybe interlace one knuckle down just to change it up for the arms a little. Chest open. And bow forward. Again, not as far as you can come, as far as makes sense to keeping the chest in front of your shoulders open. If it bothers your elbows to straighten the arms, keep them bent. And breathe here. Holding your warrior with your legs, keeping that left hip into place. Bring the hands to your low back, bending your elbows. Come back up. Look forward for that balance point. Maybe step your back foot a little closer first and really square off. And then as you lift up, if you can, keep the bind. Maybe open the chest again. Otherwise, you can release your hands to the heart. Breathe into the upper chest. Land into your warrior one, release the arms up as you inhale, and as you exhale, chaturanga or straight to downward dog. Just a breath or two in your downward dog, finding center. And then soften. And hopper step to the front through your flat back into your forward fold. Bend your knees coming up through your chair pose. Reach open. And stand up, hands to heart. Again, sit back into your chair. And dive down. Lengthen out. And follow your breath to downward dog. From this downward facing dog, lift your right leg. And starting warrior two, stepping forward between the thumbs, come up and open out to the left. And neutral through the hips, through the shoulders, but deep bend into that front leg. Get a little squeeze between your legs so you're not just falling into your adductors there in the inner back thigh. Hold steady with the legs. Reach that front arm up, bend the elbow to bring the hand behind you. Grab your right elbow with your left hand to drop behind your head, and either stay here with this half bind, or reach your left arm around behind you, link your fingers between your shoulder blades for the full arch your arms bind. Try not to round into the bind for the arms. Stay open, chest to the side, maybe look forward past your tricep, otherwise keep chin in line with chest. Gently release to warrior two, reverse it. Spin the hands down, step back just to plank, don't lower down. From plank to side plank, heels to the left, right arm up, balanced on your left arm. Reach that right arm to the sky. Maybe stack the feet, lift the hips up. Maybe step that right foot behind you, bend the knee, and open a little bit more into Wild Thing or Rock Star. But don't sink back too far. Keep your shoulders more or less stacked, even though you're opening the front a bit more. You don't want to just squeeze too far back into that left shoulder blade. Come back to side plank. Now high plank. Now chaturanga, lower halfway. Inhale fully into your upward facing dog. And exhale back into your downward facing dog. Then from downward dog, left foot forward, warrior two on the second side. Open out to your right. And take a moment, really feel your legs, spread the toes out. Use your back leg to help you shift forward, but keep the spine nice and upright. Left arm up, bend the elbow. Grab the elbow with your right hand to draw it further back. And stay, excuse me, or reach the other arm around and link your fingers behind your shoulder blades. Again, trying not to let the upper body shift too much to accommodate the bind. Keep the spine neutral, tailbone a little tucked. And then release the arms, reverse your warrior, and plank. Step back, stay up high. Side plank on the right arm. Heels to the right, reach your left arm up. You can keep your feet separated. You can bring the knee down if you need to. Or you can stack the feet, lift a little higher. And then bending your left knee, step that left foot just a little bit behind you and use the foot to help you bridge the hips up higher, again, without turning the entire chest towards the ceiling. Just maybe a little reach back through that left arm. Back to side plank, then high plank, then chaturanga. Inhale, open. Exhale, pull back, downward facing dog. Couple breaths. Lengthen out. Nice. Then from downward dog, hop or step forward. Flat back into your fold. Up through chair. And stand up, hands to heart. One more of these vinyasa sequences. Sit back into your chair pose, take a deep breath. Follow that breath through the postures to downward dog. And from downward dog, lift your right leg and step forward into warrior two again. Open out to your left. And take a breath to land into a strong warrior. And we're going to get a stretch for the arms. So spread your fingertips nice and wide. And then draw the fingertips back towards your head so your palms are flat to the front and back like you're holding two walls or pillars away from each other. Spread the fingers nice and wide. Get a little tension into your forearms. Really push out. Hold that tension as you start to rotate the fingertips back until your fingertips turn towards the floor and you're reaching out through the heels of the palms. Now rotate the fingers back up towards the ceiling. Hold the fingers apart, but then start to fold pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb in, make fists. Squeeze those fists down towards the floor, but reach forward and back through the backs of the wrists now. Deep breath. Exhale, spread the fingers out to normal. Reverse your warrior. Straighten your front leg out. And pivot forward and down into triangle pose. You can always grab a block. You can reset the distance between your legs. Just find a nice steady grounding. Again, I tend to take triangle a little wide, more like warrior two, but for some people that's too much on the adductors, so you can step the legs a little closer together. It's really up to you and your proportions and your hips. But as always, you can add a little adduction or pull between your legs to help you stabilize into that effort. And then in your triangle, reach that top arm forward along your ear with the palm down. Now start to bring it right out in front of you, keeping the palm down, so it's kind of in line with your chest, parallel to the floor. And then reach it back over your back hip. As it crosses the back hip, bring it behind you, turning the palm, flipping it towards the ceiling, reaching back behind you as much as you can until the arm comes back overhead, palm down. So we're making a huge circle with the arm. Then bring the arm out in front of the chest again, palm down. Then back over that back hip, letting the palm flip towards the sky. Try keeping it low, reach back, and then back overhead. One more time, circle the arm back over the hip. Let the palm flip up. Really reach open. As it comes overhead, just reach it back up towards the sky. Come back up, bends the knee. Reverse your warrior. And then come forward into side angle. You can stay extended. You can reach that top arm to the sky and your right hand down if you want some more just gentle opening. Or you can come into your bind, bringing that left arm behind you, half bind. Maybe the right arm sneaks underneath and you can link your fingers. Roll the chest open as much as you can once you have your bind. Keep your hips in center with the work of your legs. Try not to use your bind to pull your hips into place. It feels like it makes sense, but that's a lot of pull across your shoulders. So use your legs to pull your hips into place. The bind should be loose around your legs, or at least have that idea. Your hips are way stronger than your shoulders, or at least the rotators. Gently release back to your warrior two, reverse it, and now vinyasa. Hands down, step back, and lower through. One more side, lift the left leg up and step it forward into your warrior two. Stay in your strong warrior. This one's a little different with the arms. Still spread the fingertips away from each other and then turn the fingertips up towards the sky, just like we did before when we started. Like you're reaching forward and backward through the palms to hold two walls apart. Keep the fingers spread, but this time, keep reaching out. It's kind of weird. Keep your arms in tension as you bend your elbows, bringing the fingertips in towards your head. Aim a little bit behind you, and imagine you're going to come into reverse prayer right behind your head. Fingertips almost touch, the elbows come up a little bit, keep the fingers spread, and then re-straighten the arms out. Again, turn the fingertips up towards the sky, push out through the arms, hold arm tension. Start to bend the elbows. Keep the fingers spread. Keep reaching the fingertips back. As you curl the arms in, it's almost like they're going to touch behind you, but then re-spread them out. One more time, spread the fingers. Hold tension in your arms. Bend the elbows. Start to curl them in. Keep really bending the back of the wrists. Bring it together. Imagine the pinkies were going to touch with that ulnar nerve opening. And then reach it back out. Reverse your warrior. Straighten your front leg. And triangle. Last exercise is kind of a golfer's elbow PT exercise. Might take a little bit to really feel it, but once you do through that pinky side of the hand, that can be a really good release with the elbows. Hold steady in your legs in your triangle. And then that top arm reaches forward along your ear, palm down. Then start to swing it in front of your face and chest, parallel to the floor. And then as it goes over that back hip, again flipping the palm and the whole arm rotates towards the ceiling. Try to keep reaching back. And then as it comes overhead, the palm flips back down, reaching out in front of you. Over the hip, the palm turns up. Big reach to the chest. Back overhead, palm turns down. One more big circle. Bring it back over the hip. Reach back as much as you can. Keep reaching, palm up. And then back overhead. Reach the arm up. Come back up, bend the knee, reverse your warrior. And side angle. Then you can stay extended. You can open the arms up to the ceiling and floor like triangle, but with the leg bent, or more Ashtanga style. Or you can take your bind. It can be half bind, just right hand behind you, keeping your left arm where it is. Maybe the left arm sneaks underneath. Again, it may be a habit to kind of use your arms to pull everything into place. Try not to. Use your legs. Pull the hips into place by that abduction between your heels. And that little rotation in the hips. Deep full breath. Nice. Gently release. Back to your warrior. Reverse it once more. And then spiral the hands down, take your vinyasa. Couple breaths in down dog, maybe a child's pose. We have some more standing postures to do, but just without the vinyasa. So if you want a little bit of a rest for the legs, bring it down. One more big breath in and out. And then to the front of the mat, step or hop, flat back, and fold down. Inhale for chair, and stand all the way up. Now step out to the side in a narrow straddle. Toes out, heels in, bend down into goddess or open warrior or horse stance. Different names, same thing. Then support yourself on the hands, lean forward. We'll start with the twist. Hips heavy and back, hands tractioning the thighs apart. Gently dip that right shoulder in. See if you can straighten the arm against the leg. The shoulder will sneak up into the ear, which feels a little weird for yoga because we usually keep space there. But it's okay in this point. And then pull the shoulder back into place, and then wrap your left shoulder forward, traction that thigh away. And then pull it back into place. Straighten the legs for a moment, and I'm just going to flip around because we're going to do some strength for the upper back. So we're going to come back into horse stance, but stay upright with the torso. Just bend your knees. Use the strength of your legs to hold the knees open. But just relax your arms straight down to your sides. Now as you inhale, lift your shoulders up into the ears, squeeze them up. Keep the squeeze as you pull the shoulders straight back like you're grabbing a golf ball on your upper back. And then pull that squeeze down along the spine, shoulders stay back. Inhale, relax the arms. Exhale, pull middle shoulder blades straight back like you're grabbing a pencil between the shoulder blades. Try to pull it down, it won't move as much. Inhale, relax, bend your arms. Next time, exhale, bring your elbows back like if you can touch behind you. It won't pull down much, but try to scoop the elbows down a little bit. Inhale, relax. We'll do each position one more time. Squeeze the shoulders up into the ears, pull it straight back, and then squeeze the arms down the upper back. Inhale, relax. Stay bent in your legs. Exhale, pull middle shoulder blades straight back. Try to squeeze it down. Inhale, relax the arms, bend the elbows. Exhale, try to touch the elbow tips behind you. Try to scoop that down a little bit. And then relax, straighten the legs. Roll the shoulders out. And then maybe widen your legs, but parallel feet. So toes in, heels out. And just come down into a straddle fold. We'll do a couple positions here. So first, just let the legs open. Let the hands come down for support under your shoulders. Widen the legs if you need to. Add blocks if you need to. But just start to let the back of the legs open up so that they're kind of out of the way for the next two positions for the arms and the chest. Just head heavy, deep breath. And with your next breath in, come up to a flat back. Grab a hold of your big toes if you can with the first two fingers and thumbs. You may need to get the legs a little more narrow. And then as you fold down, try to bend your elbows out to the sides and rotate the elbows a little forward so you're getting a slight wrap to your shoulders to help guide you down into the stretch a little more, or into the fold a little more. Nice. And then release, come all the way back up, but keep the legs in straddle. We have one more. This is kind of an old school classic pose. Take it with a grain of salt. Some of these binds can be a lot for the arms, especially if you're doing other strength work. But as you come up to standing in your straddle, grab your hands behind your low back. Roll the chest open. Just like in Humble Warrior, You can start to bow down, bringing the arms up overhead. Bowing the crown of the head towards the floor. Arms start to come forward maybe a little bit. Deep breath here. I remember back in the day when I could easily touch the floor with my hands. It was long ago. Deep breath in. Exhale, first soften the arms, hands to low back, then bring yourself back up. A little squeeze between the legs to help. Release your hands, thumbs to the spine at the low back. Just roll the chest open, let the hips come forward. Little mini back bend here. It's really more to open the belly than it is to go too far back. Or open the front of the hips. And then bring it back up. Hands to heart, and step to the front of your mat. Now for the next sequence, we're going to step into the poses, but you might want your blocks on either side of the front of the mat, because you might need them as we go through. But the first one we'll take will be standing back bend, so feet hips width apart, either hands behind you, thumbs to spine. If it's okay with your wrists, turn the fingertips up towards the shoulder blades, heels of the hands at your low back. And then press the hips down with the hands, lift the heart straight up, and maybe arch a little bit open. You can look up or forward, try not to throw the head so far back you can't breathe. Either engage the legs and find adduction or squeeze between them, or you can bend the knees. A little grip between your feet can actually really help stabilize this. And then gently draw yourself up. Hands to the hips. Standing on your right leg. Start to reach your left leg back into Warrior 3 and release your hands out to the sides, palms down. Like Power Yoga Airplane or Digasana Bird Pose. As the palms turn down, let that affect the whole arm, so a little wrap back to the shoulders, almost a back bend. Carefully, lightly step that left foot down a bit behind you. Make sure your feet are about 3.5 feet apart, legs straight, setting up for pyramid. Face forward. And start to fold down over your right leg. And just let the hands come down to the floor or to your blocks as you bow the head. Now some of you are binding, that's great, just keep the bind, let the shoulders roll open. But if you have your hands on the floor or your blocks, see if you can integrate the shoulders into it even here. So keeping your hands either on the blocks or the floor, gently pull your hands back to cap your shoulders down onto the rib cage. And let that gentle pull back of the arms lengthen your heart forward. So there's a little bit of work in the arms to help you extend. The arm binds, those of you that are in it, that can do the same thing in a way, keeping the shoulders back, encouraging the length. Natalie, I think you're grabbing the back leg, so just retract your shoulder blades a little bit to help you get that extension. It looks great. Carefully release. Everyone stand back up. Now either we're coming into Digasana B or C, which is all made up anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but what it is basically half Warrior 3, but moving towards standing split without the hands coming downward. So we're trying to ideally angle the upper body down and the back leg up, but without coming into a full fold. So think Warrior 3 and just going further. However, we're using the arms as well. So your hands either come to the heart. If you need to, they come to the hips. If you can, they come to reverse prayer behind you. Now, reverse prayer is a lot to balance with. So again, feel free to keep the hands in the front of the body as you come up into your Warrior 3. Floating up onto that right leg. And then keeping that left leg lifting, the heart starting to come down, angle the upper body forward. You're dipping your forehead down. Like one of those old office toys, that little red bird that's filled with liquid and it bobs up and down. You're trying to bob your little nose down towards the floor. Nice. Keep that back leg lifting. It's a lot of work for the hamstrings. Then carefully come back up. Release your arms if you had it. Shake it out. Again, as if we're coming to pyramid, step that left foot behind you, right foot forward. This time we're coming into revolved triangle. So you can start already reaching your left hand down and the right arm up. Otherwise, come to pyramid. Set up your block or bring the left hand across to the outside. And your right arm starts to reach up towards the sky. Your right hand can be at the hip as well. But if you're reaching up, a lot of you, you've already got this down, but you can play a little bit with the movement of the hands, rotating the whole arm into the shoulder, and see how that affects the posture in your upper body. So even though the palm faces the side, make sure that the whole arm is kind of moving into that direction too. Sometimes you can just move the wrist around and it doesn't affect the shoulder. But really still get that little external rotation to your shoulder. Nice. Then carefully bring that hand down, come all the way up, step forward, shake it out if you need to. We're just going to come into the second side. So standing on your left leg, starting to shift into your warrior three. You can have hands at heart, you can have your hands to the side, palms down, like that airplane from power yoga or traditional Digasana. Square off the hips. Extension through the chest, almost to back bend, but not quite. Feeling a little bit like Shalabhasana. Beautiful. Lightly, carefully touch that foot down behind you, setting up for pyramid. Square the body off and start to fold down over your left leg. Again, hands to floor or blocks. Those of you that bound the first side, you can bind this side. But again, using your hands to pull the shoulders back, either on the blocks or on the floor, gently lengthening the heart forward. So you're not just reaching out and letting the shoulders slide forward, you're capping the shoulders back a little bit to help you extend the heart forward. If you engage core, that'll actually help you lift the tailbone a bit and get more extension into your whole fold. If that's too much for hamstrings, definitely bend the knee a little bit. Deep breath here. Gently, carefully come back up. And now we're going to set up for that Digasana B. So floating through your warrior three into that halfway towards standing split, head down, right leg up, but with the arms, either hands at the heart, hands to the hips, or hands in your reverse prayer. Starting to float up first through your warrior three with your hands in your chosen position. And then starting to bow the head halfway down, that right leg goes a little bit higher up. Again, angling the whole body, hinging over left leg. Engage hamstrings, engage your core. Beautiful. Gently, carefully, all the way back up. Relax your arms. Shake out the wrists if you were in reverse prayer. I know for me that's a lot. And then setting up for a revolved triangle. So still left leg forward, hips fairly square. As you fold, the right hand comes down, maybe grab a block, and your left arm starts to reach up to the sky. And playing a little bit with the rotation of the entire arms, wrists, shoulders to help you open up. And you can feel the difference. If you internally rotate the shoulders, that collapses the chest. If you externally rotate, turning the palms away, that can open the chest, but it's also possible to go too far and squeeze your upper back. Just finding an open position that doesn't feel too compressive in any direction. Or just breathe in your pose and don't worry about anything I just said. And then gently bring the hand down, come all the way up, and step to the front of the mat, shake it out. You can move your blocks out of the way, but not too far because we'll use them next, but we'll come to the ground first. So from the front of the mat, take your vinyasa, making your way to downward dog. Lift up and fold forward. Lengthen out and step or flow your way back, rinsing through center line. When you get to your downward dog, bring the knees down into your tabletop. Then sit back, grab a hold of your blocks. We're going to take those two versions of supported Anahatasana. And what I said about the arms before in twisting triangle really applies to this. When we move the upper arms and forearms, we're really trying to get this wrap to the upper arms and shoulders to engage into striatus underneath our arms, so that when we come eventually onto our forearms in different postures, we're not rotating up like this. We're keeping the shoulders down and clear of the ears, even as we press forward. So the first one will be on our elbows, blocks their highest height out in front of you with a couple inches between. And then just look first. I know a lot of you have done this with me before. We're going to start off with the elbows on the blocks and then back the knees up enough to come into tabletop where the elbows are on a block. And once you bring your hands together towards the sky, drop your head between the arms, but then curl your hands apart so you're just touching fingertips and your wrists come further apart. Ideally, we want the forearms parallel. If that's too much for your shoulders, just keep the palms together and maybe even widen your elbows. But there's a little squeeze of the elbows in and a wrapping apart of the wrists. But again, it's not really about your forearms, it's about the set of your shoulders. So come down onto your elbows on your blocks. Back your knees up enough that your knees are under the hips. It's not child's pose, it's tabletop of the lower body. And then maybe start to steeple the wrists apart. If you really want to go for something extra and you have a third block, put the block between your hands. That'll be interesting. Let the head relax, let your chest be heavy. And think of cupping your armpits and triceps down towards the floor. Nice. I saw that in a couple of you in the upper back. Deep breath there. Seeing if you can start to feel this in those serratus anterior muscles. Those are the little bumps on the sides of the ribs that most people think are ribs, but they're muscles. They connect pretty much the strength of the front of the body to the back of the body. Just one more really deep breath in and out in this first position. And then gently, carefully come up off the blocks. If you have foam ones, be extra careful. They tend to move a bit. Now we're going to take the same pose, but with the arms outstretched and the wrists on the blocks. And I just want to give my caution about shoulders. A lot of you are really hypermobile. So if you put your hands on the blocks and back up, and as you drop your head, if you feel your shoulders slide too far behind you, like they feel like they're almost dislocating back a little bit, they might actually be if you're really mobile in the shoulders. So instead of palms down, for you, turn your palms towards each other with your thumbs up so you're on the sides of the wrists. That'll keep your shoulders capped if you keep that rotation through the arms. Again, it's not just the wrists, the whole arms are rotating, and that'll keep them in place. However, if you're tight in your shoulders, You'll get more opening by having the palms down and letting the head go towards the floor. For me, I don't have to worry because my shoulders are tight enough. But if you're one of those people, you start to come into the pose and you feel like you're going too far, almost like you were in down dog and you started collapsing down in it, then just turn the thumbs up with your palms towards each other. So bring your hands onto the blocks. And I give that caution, but don't worry, it's really rare. No, you're not going to hurt yourself. It's just going to be uncomfortable. So hands on the blocks, back the knees up, let the head drop, let the chest be heavy. And if you feel like you're passing, just lift the thumbs. Otherwise, keeping the arms fairly strong rather than relaxed. Feel that extra opening along the sides of the shoulders, sides of the armpits. Just a couple breaths. Those of you that I can see your upper backs look fine. Paul, I trust you to know. One more breath in and out. And then carefully come up off your blocks. Set them off to the side, but a little bit forward or backwards so they're not at the sides of your shoulders. You'll need that space. And lay down all the way onto your belly. You want to be able to bring your arms out to cactus or field goal. So bend to 90 degrees, elbows out to the sides of your shoulders. Now this is an upper back strengthener. It's not a back bend necessarily. So even though we're lifting up a little bit, don't lift too high. So keep the tailbone tucked and your feet are on the ground. Lift the chest just enough that you can look down without touching your face to the floor. And then float the forearms straight up, wrists and elbows rise, still at 90 degrees. So somewhat similar feeling to what we did in horse stance earlier. Lift the forearms, squeeze the space between your shoulder blades. Then slide the arms forward, touch middle fingers overhead, keep the wrists up, just like the x-ray machine at the airport. Elbows up, wrists up. Bring the arms back to center, elbows in line with shoulders, squeeze middle shoulder blades, floating forearms up, keep the tailbone tucked. Then bring your elbow tips back behind you like they can touch. Squeeze back, keep your wrists up. Bring it back to center, squeeze middle shoulder blades, lift up. Bring the arms forward, tap middle fingers overhead, but keep the elbows bent, wrists up. And then back to center again, squeeze up. And one more time, elbow tips back like they could touch. They probably won't. Bring it back to center, pause, keep the tailbone tucked and your feet on the ground. We're going to wing the arms up 10 times, but not by lifting and lowering the chest, just by moving the arms like wings. Forearms up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Put the forehead on your hands or turn your head to the side, whatever you're more comfortable. Let the neck relax. Deep breath. You can even roll the head a little side to side if you have the forehead straight down. Just to help relax the neck. It can be hard to keep that one down to the neck muscles. Now we're going to set up for full Shalabhasana. So this one is a bit more of a back bend. Like we did in all the other postures, you'll interlace your hands behind your low back, bring your feet together, point the toes to the back wall, and then as you lift the chest, just like Humble Warrior, you can keep your hands at the low back, or you can start to lift them up, balancing on the front of your hips, lifting your feet, lifting the chest, coming into this belly back bend. But make sure, as always, that you're looking slightly down so that you're lifting through the chest and the core, and you're not straining through the throat or reaching through the chin. Back of the neck stays neutral. Belly is engaged. Feet are reaching to the back wall, heart forward, so it's just as much about length as it is height. Couple breaths here. Beautiful. And then gently relax. Turn the head the other way or forehead on your hands again. Maybe shake the hips out. A couple of belly breaths to rest. Then we're going to come into that pose again, but I'm going to offer several options. First option is repeat exactly what you just did. Simple enough. Second option is to, instead of interlacing your hands, grab the block behind your back, and you can pull the block apart to straighten the arms and roll your shoulders open. Now, third option is the hardest option. Instead of squeezing, or instead of pulling the block apart with your fingertips, you hold it between your palms and squeeze it back behind you as it lifts off the hips. That's really hard to stay open while squeezing a block between your hands. So again, you can grip it and pull it apart, or you can just interlace your hands and forget the block altogether. So as you lay on the belly, either interlace your hands behind your back or put a block at your low back. Either squeeze it and lift or pull it apart and lift. But again, the idea is to use your arms to help you rotate the shoulders back and lift up. Lift the feet, lift the chest, maybe lift the hands or the block. Nice. Again, look a little down and don't overuse your neck. Huge breath, just 2 more breaths. This is not an easy one. Those of you at the block, good job. Take another breath. Thank you, Prescott. And release. Prescott didn't like that one either. It's okay, buddy. Come lay down. Give it your rest. Head down. Turn the head. Shake out the belly. Hey. Prescott, get away from the door. Just one more breath. And now we'll take bow pose. So we didn't do much quad stretching, so if bow is going to cramp your hamstrings or you already have trouble grabbing your both heels in your hands, you'll take a cobra or a sphinx instead, drawing, but again, as you lift up into your cobra, you're pulling the arms back to lift up. You're not pushing yourself back, you're pulling. Trying to draw the chest forward and up into the pose. Otherwise, if you're coming into bow, if you can, reach back with a thumbs up so you can grab the inner ankles the right way. You don't want to roll the shoulder in, you want to roll the shoulder open. And then if you can do that with both arms, do that with both arms. If you're unsure of the shoulder position on the inside of the ankle, just grab the outer ankles because it's almost impossible to do it wrong that way. So reaching back. If you can with the legs, gently press the feet into the hands, rise up through the chest, lift up through the thighs. Remember, it's crown of the head and feet towards the ceiling, not towards each other. Nice and open in your bow. Beautiful. There is a variation where you do touch feet to head, but not today. More about the shoulders and chest opening without squeezing too far back in the shoulder blades. Keep your feet apart. Nice, and release. Take a couple breaths of rest. And just listen before coming in to continue to rest. We'll do that one more time. You can always switch to outer ankles if that was too much for your shoulders. But if you're grabbing inner ankles again, you can slide your hands a little further down the inner shins towards your knees to get a slightly deeper back bend. However, if you're doing that, I'm going to encourage you to really try to keep your feet apart. Exactly like we keep the hands apart on our forearms for dolphin, I want you to keep your feet apart and knees in as you lift up into bow. Rather than letting the feet come together and knees lay wide, I want you to keep them in. Or at least try. So set yourself up. Again, you can take cobra instead and keep the feet down. You can reach back and grab your outer ankles for regular bow, or you can flip the palms open, rolling shoulders open, grab inner ankles, and lift up a little higher with more chest opening for your bow. So grab the feet, press back to lift up. Again, try to keep your thighs parallel, feet apart, not wider than knees, ideally legs parallel. Just don't let the feet slide in towards each other if you can help it. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. Yeah, think of upside down bridge. One more breath in and out. And then let it rest. Couple deep belly breaths, shake out the hips. Then bring your hands back by the ribs and press up to tabletop. And then just sit back on your heels. So before we come to rest, and we only have a few minutes, so I'll just show this. We'll try it really quickly. Oh, I didn't realize how long that took. I miss those old 90-plus minute classes. Anyway, we're going to try Mayurasana. It's one of the things that we've been working towards with the arm strength, wrapping in and out. We'll just give it a brief try. Those of you that know it, obviously you can come up into it. This is that kind of strange arm balance where you flip your hands so that the fingers are towards you. Wrists are fairly close together. Fingers towards you. As you bend the elbows, try to bring your elbows underneath the belly, round the upper spine a little bit, and then bring the knees to the side and either float the legs like Baddha Konasana, or you can start to straighten. It's not just about getting your elbows underneath you. You need to wrap the shoulders in and lock into your serratus at the same time. Again, it's not just about the disconnected movement of hands and forearms. All the arms wrap in to engage those side muscles. Almost think about pulling your sides into your abdominal muscles in the front. Hey, Prescott. And then extend the legs maybe, but that piece is optional. You can keep the knees bent. Nice. The legs can just get light. They don't have to lift. And it does feel a little scrunchy to try to round and get the elbows up underneath your belly or front of your hips. The extension doesn't really come until you actually lift up. And then you might feel a bit of extension. Nice. Beautiful. And then we're done with that one. The good thing is, after all of this, we can just rest. So come down onto your back and hug your knees into your chest. Rock a little side to side. Lower your knees over to the right, but keep them tucked up into the chest so you get a little rounding in your back. Reach that left arm out. You can either hold the knees down with your right hand or extend. Just come into a reclined twist. Now we did a lot of this opening for the shoulders and chest, so if this doesn't feel comfortable at this moment, you can actually reach your left hand straight back along your ear. Give it a little bit of a break. But if it feels good, you can just let the arms open. And let the eyes close. Your next breath, just up and over to the other side. your center. Relax the shoulders and legs. Carefully back to center and come into Shavasana. Any position of rest, it can be Supta Baddha Konasana, you can just lay down. Since we did so much opening out to the sides, it might feel comfortable as you lay back to have one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. Otherwise, just out to the sides like regular Shavasana. Just close your eyes. Rest into the floor. Relax the face, the jaw. Let yourself be heavy. Just let yourself rest. As always, those of you at home, feel free to just stay and rest as long as you'd like. Otherwise, start to deepen your breath down to the belly again. Let it rise up and empty it out. You can start to move your fingers and toes around. Maybe reach your arms back overhead, press the toes forward, lengthen everything out. Huge breath there. And carefully curl up onto one side or the other. And stay relaxed, but use your arms to help you up to seated. Like bringing the hands over the heart. Just closing with one more breath together. Take a huge inhale. Hold the breath in. Take an extra sip if you have the room. Hold it in. Relax those shoulders. And exhale. Namaste. Thank you you all so much for sharing practice on this. Well, if you're in Boston, it's a beautiful Saturday. Hopefully it's beautiful wherever you are. If you have questions, feel free to email or text. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day and weekend, and I hope to get to see you all very soon. Take care.